Oh my God. "20 minutes." It's been 20 minutes that I've been talking to myself. Oh my. Okay. So, I'm glad I noticed this now. Hmm. So, if anybody else in the world needs more coffee, I think I do right now. Wow. So, I I am gonna go and gonna go grab some coffee and we'll be right back. Well, we're gonna try this again, but better. Oh my God. So, the perks of live stream and lack of coffee and sleep. I've been here yapping to myself for a solid half an hour. No, not even. No, 20 minutes, 19 minutes. Um, so I really, I really hope that I really wish I had to hit the go live button. So I totally forgot to hit the go live button. I started the stream, but I didn't hit go live. Um, if anybody's watching, I am very sorry. And yeah, Key, um, brother, I am so sorry to everybody. I really am so sorry. I talked to myself for a good 20 minutes, I think it was, or so, and I didn't even hit the go live button. Like I don't have enough coffee. Okay, so welcome. This is the Midnight Tech. No, we're done with the Midnight Technician. We finished that up in our last stream. yesterday. So in this stream, we are actually going to be starting a new project, which was actually pitched by one of our own subscribers. He had reached out and just sort of suggested a to-do list. So here we are. We are going to make the midnight list because we all have that to-do list that's, the length of your arm that we never seem to have enough time in the day to do. So we are uh we are going to make a midnight list so that we'll get to it when the wee hours of the morning or the late hours of the day. Yeah, that's totally the theme. So this is going to step it back a notch from the Midnight Technician. It's going to be targeted more towards the basic levels or the entry level early back end exploration sort of people. So you kind of know Java, but you don't know back end, you don't know Spring, you kind of want to sort of get your feet wet. Make sure you got your coffee cup full and we're gonna dive on in. That was totally unneeded. This is why I'm better with prepared recorded videos. So I don't do stupid shit like this. Alright, so what exactly is a class? A class, it is the fundamental building block of object-oriented programming. That is Java. It basically defines what data is in an object, the fields, and it defines what said object can do, the methods. That basically tells it um, that you can uh, everything is in Java an object, so that everything kind of that you write extends an object. Um, you typically use a class over a record, or like the difference between them. You typically use a class when your object needs to change over time. So you need some sort of methods that manipulate the behavior of fields. You also would like to have full control over the constructors so that you have encapsulation and mutability. We are using it for your JPA, or the Java Persistence API, which is how we're going to store our tickets. This is just a way that I'll get more into as we get into the video. Um, but now records, on the other hand, records were introduced in Java 16, and a record is a special kind of class that is meant for simple immutable data. So this stuff does not change. So a record automatically generates a constructor, the getters, equals, hash code, toString, all that stuff. Again, it is immutable, so once it is created, it doesn't change. It's great for passing data between layers. And in our case, we're going to be using it for our DTO, or our data transfer object. So you don't need mutability. Sorry. When you're looking to use records, generally, would be when you need. So you don't need mutability. You're just basically passing information between two services or between two layers of an application. Um, And in our case, it's just going to be used for passing it from the data layer to the browser. Um, yeah. So you're also going to see an interface in here, which an interface is, it defines what something can do without saying how it does it. So you can think of it like everything that implements me has to um, specifically do these methods or provide these methods. We use the interface in our repository layer, and the repository layer is how we store information into a database. So in our case, the Spring Data JPA, our repository is a way of talking to the database itself. And Spring uses some magic behind the scenes um, that provides us some out-of-the-box functionality, such as find all, save, delete, find by ID, and a lot more straight out of the box because Spring auto-generates everything. So if you're early in your backend career and you've heard things like Spring Boot, it truly is magic. Really is magic. I've been using it personally for roughly 5 years. Yeah, roughly 5 years. Um, and it is, again, absolute magic. So unfortunately, gosh darn it, you know what? Let's do it. All right. So I got to delete my files right quick. Just give me a second. I'm about to share my screen, but I want to delete some stuff off my. So I went ahead and I goofed up the first thing, as any of you know who have seen the first few bits of this. I was going in to do. Oh, did it? Oh, perfect. I didn't even put it in the right place. Cool. All right. Enough yapping. Let's go back to let's get rid of this head. Go to this small little one down here. Whoop, turn that on, turn there. Okay. All right. So, um, just give me one quick second here, guys. All right. Sorry about that. All right. So cat. So the um, if you're not using IntelliJ, you're doing something wrong. Um, because yes, you can always go to. Let's go here. New. Um, pick my base. Yeah, let's do this. Make a new project. Midnight. Call it the midnight list, sure. There we go. All right, so now, so if you're not using IntelliJ, you're doing something wrong with your early on career because you want to kind of crisp it. So if you're not using it, I don't know, you're doing something wrong. You can go to start.spring.io, like majority of us OG Spring guys used to do back in the day, and build it there, have it generate the project for you, download the project, come into IntelliJ, open the project, or create a new project from an existing file, yada yada, go in and do that. Or you can just go new project and tell it that you want to pick a Spring Boot project, and it literally is pulling everything from start.spring.io. But personally, I'm an old dog, and I like simplicity. So I've always liked the fact that IntelliJ gives me everything in one place. So I I don't know. Big shout out to IntelliJ here for JetBrains. So in this here, we're just going to simply call this the midnight the midnight list or midnight to do. What was it? What was I going to call this? Midnight to do? Midnight list? Midnight list. List. Spell it right, Mike. So artifact. Let's call it that. Whoa. Call it that. Okay. So now we're just going to say um so now we're going to say next. Now that we've called it the midnight list, we are going to make our development life easy and take in Lombok. We do want this to be on a web browser, so we're going to take in Spring Web. Because we're putting it on the web, we're going to take in Timeleaf because that's going to make life easy. We're not taking security. Everything's going to be wide open. We're going to go into our SQL or SQL. We're going to take in Spring Data JPA, and we're also going to pop this bad boy H2 database. That is just going to be for development purposes. We're just going to save everything to a file, more or less. So that is all we need. We can see all of the stuff we need over here if we want to reassure ourselves. We are using Spring 4, Java 25. Let's create the project. And there we go. It's going to create a whole bunch of stuff, get some versioning ready. It's adding everything into control for us, or version control, the files that need to. Generated a simple, yeah, let's let it cook. All right. So, as you can see, it generated us a very simple file. Now, because we're using Java 25, you no longer need to specify public static void. You can now just get away with the public aspect and just have it as static void, and it'll still run. So let's hit that run button and prove my point. Look at that. Up and running. Cheers, Java. Cool. All right. So turn that off. Tuck that away. So could you give the palm? Okay. So you're talking about a Maven project. That's the difference between that one and this one. This one is a Gradle project, and how do you define default then? Well, um, for those of you that don't see the chat, um, he asked if I could give the POM file, but he asked about how what the different or how to define the default then. So um, with I probably should have explained this here too. Um, our build, the build dependency that some people use is Maven, myself included. I used to use it for over a decade. Um, More industry standard seems to, at least in my understanding, is more Gradle based. I don't know. I've been reading information about it, and I've been dabbling with it for uh, not nearly as long as I have with uh, with Maven. But there's these .gradle files. So there's a settings.gradle, which basically all you need in here is defining the root project name, um, which is just the name of the project. And if you use IntelliJ or an IDE, these are generally made for you. If you're looking to do something like manage your dependencies, you would go into the build.gradle file. So if we open this up, you can see here that we define up here that this is we're using a Java, okay, so Maven was built for Java applications. It was built, Maven, for all intents and purposes, is the build library for Java application. However, Gradle is sort of the build dependencies for everything else. So, where Maven Taylor was built originally, to my knowledge, somebody else can correct me on that later. Um, it was built and good for uh, um, it was built pretty much tailored to Java, whereas the whole Gradle idea was more built and tailored for everything else. So inside of build.gradle, we specify here that this is Java, um, and we also specify our Spring versioning and our Spring dependency versioning. We define it gets defined here at the top, and again, if you're using an IDE such as IntelliJ, you don't generally have to worry about typing this out yourself. As you saw, I just went through, specified what I wanted, everything was built. If you use start.spring.io, everything gets generated for you as well, and you can select your build type, whether you want Gradle or Maven. I just simply went with Gradle for this one. And you can see down here further that oh yes, and we also specify the group, which is typically like the packaging, but that just came from the original part. This is where we specify our Java version. We specify that we want Java 25, and then down further, um, I just realized that this is not, where, where did I change that? Nope, wasn't there. I changed back after my live stream yesterday. I really ought to keep it there, or keep it at the ready. Font editor's appearance. Yeah. I don't know if this will do it or not, but we'll see. I definitely didn't change it to that. I thought I changed it to 14. And that did nothing. Perfect. Okay. Sorry, I'm not gonna stress on that too long here. But so down here, we are telling it the repositories to basically this is just telling it where, like where are we pulling our dependencies from. In that case, we're coming down here, and I'm going to separate these so that it's a little bit easier to see. There we go. So up here, we say that these are the ones that we're looking to be using in the implementation of our project, more or less. And then we pass in the same thing as it's the group, the name, and then we don't have, in our case with Spring Boot, um, we don't actually have to pass in the version number at the end here, much like in Maven, you wouldn't have to pass in the version tag because we have a parent version stated up on the top. Um, so we also state here that we want our compile time for our Lombok, and we also want it available as an annotation processor. And then we also, for runtime, we're telling it that we want the database. Thank you. That's where I thought I went to. That's where I thought I was in here, but 16 is bigger, but not quite. Tools, parents, terminal. Hmm. Yeah, I do not remember where I changed this. Ooh, ooh. Can I do this? What did I do? 16. Oh, I don't think that actually did anything. Yikes. That just that just made everything else bigger. Um, no, man, like I went into editor, font, and yeah, wait, current editor font is this. Oh yeah. Oh, that's why. Apparently I'm using my color scheme font. There we go. Jeepers. Had some weird funky settings going on. Okay. Sorry about that. So here is the um here's where I'm these are the implemented these are the repositories or the dependencies that we're using on implementation. You can see the ones that we're using on compile time, like the Lombok, and then we are also turning on the annotation processors for Lombok as well. We're not actually stating any of the versioning in here because it's all being taken care of by the parent management up top. So this is um, sort of like your POM file, if you will, um, from your Maven projects, but this one is a Gradle project. So yeah, again, in here we can just see that this is just everything here is just straight out of the box that was generated, whether you go to here or whether you go to start.spring.io. You'll find the same stuff. And down here, the application.properties is also generated for us, um, uh, as you can see as well, which I do need to add in some extra stuff here while we're here, which I'm just going to copy and paste in here so that you're not watching me type everything out. So Um, so what this is telling it that we're using the Spring Data JDPC. We're using the H2, and we're storing it in file, and then we're passing it. We're telling it where we're storing it. So in my case, or in our case, we're going to store it in a new file that's going to get generated, called our new folder, dot data slash warehouse slash, and then it's going to be called the midnight list. Just for development purposes, we're leaving a password here as root, and of course a very secure password of change it. We are going to be able to pop into this may have changed in Spring Boot 4. I'm not too sure. This might have changed in Spring 4, or sorry, Spring Framework 7. I was hoping it would have been a quicker answer, but we'll see if it works still. The idea here is that we can go to the local host in our browser, and this is pretty cool for those of you that are just kind of getting interested in the back end. This allows us to go to localhost, and because we're not stating a server port, it's going to be 8080 by default. But I like to have that up there anyway, just kind of an OCD thing. So the idea here is that you can go to localhost 8080 /h2-console, and you get this nifty little view where you can see your database and all your information. It's actually kind of cool, and we'll get into that once we get things built. So that's it for what we need in here. For those of you that are wondering what this little button in the corner here is, IntelliJ actually provides me a nifty little built-in. I believe it's because of the JPA plugin, I believe, but it allows me to just kind of auto wire and connect to a database in here. And again, I'm going to show you how you can view it in the browser, because this database view is an IntelliJ Ultimate feature. It's just, I love simplicity, and this is just my way of doing things here. So let's let's create a few files here. So up here, I'm going to make a few folders. We're going to have our controller. Ooh, controller. We're going to have a controller. We're going to have a DTO because we're going to be storing our data transfer objects somewhere. A model. So we're going to have our, that's where we're going to stick our, that's where we're going to be sticking the data that we're looking to model, put into a database. That makes sense. Next thing we're going to need a service layer. And that's sort of how you can think about these here as well. Excuse me. Excuse me. Oh, sugars feel a little weird. Whatever, that's taking a hot minute to load. So we also need a repository. So package, repo, and repository. What else do we need? Service, repository, model. Oh, that's all we need. Yeah, that's all we need. Yes, okay. It's a rough morning, guys. Like, get to hit the go button, forget what I'm doing that I've done 100 times. Like, if you ever had a rough day, hit that thumbs up. Like, if there was a coffee emoji, I'd say hit that coffee button, but like, you know, found it. All right. What else are we gonna need? What else are we gonna need? That's about it there. So we close that here. Okay. And I believe that's it. All right. So we are going to and if you happen to notice on this on here, there's a whole bunch of different tools. There's a lot of stuff that you can actually auto generate. Like I'm gonna create these. We're gonna call it the old school classic way of just making a Java class and filling it out. But again, if you're using things like IntelliJ, you can actually create JPA entity, which will allow you to um, directly create a class and kind of define everything with a little pop-up widget, and you can specify and add in a bunch of other information, and it will generate uh, the file, table, everything for you. But we're just gonna do it ourselves. Um, Same thing here. If you happen to have, say, an existing database already, um, you can actually do this, and it'll allow you to connect to a database and then build a Java file based off of your database. It's pretty cool. And then, of course, you can, if you have an existing entity, you can map a or build a DTO file directly from it, and all sorts of other stuff. I think this is actually provided by my JPA buddy tool that I got. I don't know. I got this. I got this JPA designer, which also makes life a little bit easier. I've actually never used it, but it's part of my JPA buddy, I think. Anyway, getting a little off topic there. So our model we need to create is a to-do item. So um, we'll just, yeah, to-do item, I guess. To do item. Yep, cool. We can add it. And so we're going to annotate this with a couple of things. And the first one is going to be that it is an entity. And the second is we're going to tell it the table. Yep, cool. Look at that. Auto generates it. Perfect. Love it. So, yeah, we're going to need a description. Yep, cool. We're going to need completed. What else you got for me? Nope. Cool. Well, autocomplete was doing a good job. So next we're going to take in a private lobe local date time created date last modified. No, well, yes and no, but keep in theme. Whoop. All right, duplicate this. We also want a completed date because I want to keep track of. Oh, this is going to be an at ID, and we need to tell it. We need to tell it how to generate this ID, and Spring uses a lot of annotations. It uses a lot of annotations, which is how it uses magic. Just think of all of the annotations that you see. Think of that as just Spring magic sprinkled everywhere in your project. Um, they're scary at first, but they're not really scary. They're just magic fairy dust. Spring magic fairy dust. Sorry, need a little sip of that coffee. All right, so we need to tell this again how to generate um, this unique ID value because we can't just tell it ID and be like, good luck. Because there's a few different ways to do it. We are going to have, we just want to happen to, oh, sorry, getting a little warm. We happen to want to tell this that the strategy is going to be that, well, let's see if it'll tell us here. So we're going to tell it that we want this to be a generated, that's perfect. We want this to be a generated value, and we want it to be that of a that of type identity. And if I just get this right, there we go. Why do you not like me? Generated value. Oh, did we goof this up? Really? What you talking about, Willis? What's wrong with this? Okay. I don't have it connected at the moment. No, I don't want it to be muted. Okay, cool. So I'm a little baffled. My God, my cat's trying to be cute right now. Come on up, dude. My cat likes to code with me. Come on, dude. Ugh. He's on my lap like 90% of the time that I'm coding. Yeah, if you ever catch me on a live stream, I usually look down. Looking down because he's doing something cute, stupid, or just adorable. I guess that's kind of hard to say. Okay, you know what? Actually, cat, I'm sorry. I gotta take this off. It's got kind of warm. Yeah, I know. You just came up. Oh my God! Punched him in the forehead. Whoops. See, you come up at the worst times, cat. Oh, struggle. There you go. If you want something to curl up in. Great dude. Yeah, I know. You're cute. No, don't take the mic away. Yeah, you're cute. All right. So, I'm not sure. Like, I had to take my jacket off. I'm getting a little hot. I don't know if I did something wrong, but I thought I had that typed out. Generated value, ID, everything except for stating that the column was nullable or not nullable. Like, okay, I'm pretty sure I had that, and I'm going to be checking the recording later. But it threw a fit. I don't know. Okay. So we're gonna have a description. So this is gonna be, hey, to do task, subscribe, like, learn Java, drink coffee. We're gonna be able to have a little Boolean here so that we can tell whether or not it has been completed. That way, when we go to our web page, we're gonna be able to just check it off. We're going to be able to here to see, just for the sake of logging, we're going to be keeping track of when it was created, when it was completed, and of course, when it was last modified, which would be if we had a typo or something or needed to make clarity. So from here, we're going to make some pretty simple choices. I'm going to go up to here, and I'm going to click on this little button up here, and I'm going to generate a data transfer object. This one here, I want it to have a description. I want to have everything except for the unique identifier. The only reason I'm not keeping the unique identifier for the data transfer is that there's not really any need for me to keep any sensitive data. So like a best practice, sensitive data, don't put it in the data transfer object. So up here, the package model, no, I want this to go into the DTO package. I want this to be a Java record. And yes. Okay, perfect. Almost perfect. Sorry, I kind of got a little bit of OCD about how I organize my thing. Cool. So, there we go. And now if we happen to look at the side here, you'll see how there's this little squiggly line. This here tells us by IntelliJ here that we can hop back and forth, and we can see what is what it is that connected with. And the other thing I want to do here is work a little magic. Is I want to create the repository that I talked about in the beginning. So if we see here, we can go Spring Data JPA repository. So this here is we're just going to let it auto name it. And we are going to make sure everything is good by default. Yes. Source and the package, we don't want it here. This one we want in the repo. So there we go. And now we're going to go into here. So this is all we need to talk to our database. That's it. Nothing more. Now we can build a service layer of the of our model view here. We can now build a service layer that talks to and edits and handles interactions with the database, so to speak, as a service layer. The repo, and again over here is your repos or your repositories. These are your like data layer or your database layer. The service is basically your service layer. Your model is your model layer or your models that get put into the database. This is like the data itself here. Whereas the repos are more like the databases. Whereas this is the data. The DTO is just simply data transfer objects. Nothing more. It's the stuff that goes in between all the different layers of your application. And then the controller is sort of the front-facing aspect or like the viewpoint of everything that your endpoint user would see, or that your users would interact with. So this again, as I had stated in the beginning, about how you out of the box will get things like find all, save, delete, find by ID. That is all coming to you through Spring Magic. Again, and it would be if we hold Control and click on this here, we can jump into it and see that this one here is where we get some stuff like saving and flushing, deleting things in batches, and these are all sort of the built-in methods that come with it. And you can feel free to read through all the Java documentation in your own time. There's just far too much to cover in one sitting. But as you can see, each of these extend something else, such as list CRUD. So it has a different CRUD repository, which is just your basic stuff like create, read, update, delete, as well as and again, you can just control click and go into all of these. You can see and trace down to see what everything does. But again, it's just far too much to get into right now. So if you want to take some time, you can always just deep dive into that on your next little coffee break. Cute cat. So the next thing we want to do is make a service where we're going to actually interact with. We'll say creating a to do and whatnot, creating one, updating one, all of that fun stuff before we dive into the controller and the front end aspect. So let's make a new Java class. We'll call this to-do service, I believe. Okay, and in order for us to add our spring magic, we're gonna annotate this here as a service. So now Spring Boot will be able to take care of some of the heavy lifting, so that we don't have to do uh, a whole lot of implementation. So in here, we do want to also, because we also took in Lombok, I'm also going to go ahead and annotate this with a required args constructor. So this way I can just come in here and say, uh, yeah, that. Um, and now I don't have to actually make the constructor because of the Spring annotation. So now I just simply have everything straight out of the box. You can see that verified over here on the side because it has this little spring button where it tells you how everything kind of gets connected. So next, we want to be able to write out some basic things, such as creating a ETO from just a string, which is just a description. So let's make a public void um, create new. Yeah, look at that. I think that's about right. Cool. I'm just gonna call this an item, and yeah, to do item. But I think I have more than that. No, I don't even have that constructor. Okay, that's right. Okay, so my little autocomplete did not do that. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna come in here. I'm gonna say item dot set description as description. I didn't do that. So we're gonna come into here, and I'm gonna make a getter, setter, perfect. So now we're gonna come in here, set the description, set complete. Let's just set up some defaults here. Oh, that's not it. And also, why are you taking it in like that? Okay, and for the sake of it, we're setting completed to null. Okay, perfect. All right, so that's how we're going to create one. And typically, I personally like to know when one has been created. Um, I really hate to do this, guys, but I will be back in just a quick moment. Too much coffee now at this point went through me. I will be back in just a very quick moment. I do really apologize. Okay. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Ooh, perks of live. Um, so now we have a way to create a data object, and usually or typically, I like to be able to um, kind of verify what I've done. So I'm gonna come in here and just throw this um, mapper down here at the bottom here. So just give me a quick second here. We're gonna make this private. Uh, what do I call it? Private to do item DTO. Da, 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 da. There we go. And I love how that perfect. Just convention wise, I'm gonna do that for myself. Um, okay, so now I got a way to convert it, got a way to get rid of that noise at the top. So I can create it, convert it back. So now I want to, I'm gonna call this cached, and I'm going to return, oh, um, cached, and we'll make that a DTO. So there we go. So now I can confirm what I create. So once I created a an object, I'm going to get a data transfer option, a copy of that back. Cool. So now I've already shot myself in the foot. So let's the data transfer is going to need the ID because I am going to need a unique way of retrieving these. So I am going to jump back into here, and we are going to copy this and go into our, add in our ID to this. And now we're going to come back into here, into our mapper, and add it there. Okay, perfect. And the ID is going to be generated once we create this, so there's no need for us to set it up here when we actually create the DTO up here. So now we're going to need a way to, well, okay. Kind of like that. So we're going to take this. Get all DTO items. We're going to put this in a collection because I like that better. But this is going to go into our repository, which, again, we have written absolutely nothing in here, but we're just getting everything out of Spring Boot, out of Spring's magic. So we're going to reach into here. We're going to say, okay, find all. So this is going to take everything out of the out of this, all of the DTOs. We're then going to stream it. After that, we want to map it, and what we're just going to do here is we're going to map one object to another object. That's all this is we're mapping one thing to another thing. In our case here, we're mapping a data object to a data transfer object. And then we want to return all of that as a list, or in our case here, a collection. And that's a way that we now can create, we can get everything. Let's see what else our little auto complete here. So we also have our way to delete it, because again, it's always, you do always want to be able to delete some tasks. Mark task as complete. We're just going to be able to do this so that all we can do is simply, and I like how this, there we go. Would that not just be fine by ID? Yeah, and that's optional, right? Yeah, optional. Okay. Okay, so we're going to say, we're going to write this a little slicker. No, because I do want to be able to return it. Okay, so we're going to call this an optional item, and we're going to do some null safety here. So we're going to do some, nope, not is empty. We're going to do is present. We want to make sure first and foremost that it's there. Okay, so now that we know it's here, we're going to now have an option of the actual item itself, and now we're going to bring everything in here. And I like to line things up. This is why I think the var is a great thing. So now the item, we're going to get that from our optional. Now that we know it's there, we're going to mark it as complete, mark the completed date as right now, last modified as best practice. And then down here, boom, it's been done, and perfect. So now we're also, again, saving it just to make sure that that is going back into our database. The next thing we want to do is we have a way to delete it, mark it as completed. I guess we're going to want a way to update the description. So let's see if this if it helps us with this. I mean, realistically, we're doing basically the same deal. So public void update do description. Look at that. So again, IntelliJ learns with you. So like, because I already wrote this, it kind of came out with the other part. So again, optional item, we're going to find it by the ID. If we get it, then we're going to go ahead and get that item. We're going to update the description to this. And again, we have to provide which ID. So we're making sure. And then we're going to last modified now, save it. Boom. So again, now we've got a way to mark one as completed, update update one just by giving an ID and a description. And we have a way to create a new one, as well as, let's put this guy up here because we're going to make a few more of those. Throw this guy up here as well, just kind of organizing things. Sorry, guys. All right, so yeah, okay, so that's a way to mark it as completed and to update that. That's the only two things we ever want to change about it. And we have a way to delete it. Okay, and we have a way to create it. So this lets me get everything. Next thing I want to do is make a way to get, look at that, is to be able to get one based off of an ID. So here we're going to just simply, yeah. So here we're just going to simply fix this actually so that it's not exactly the way that I wanted it to do. we are going to find by, you want this ID. Mm, Actually, no. That's returning an optional. That's right. My bad. Optional. Yeah. So we're gonna now just take the optional here if it exists, and we are going to, um, because this one's going to be the data record, we're going to take the data record, map it to a data transfer object, and return that. Otherwise, we're just going to throw, which just technically just throws a runtime exception. Nope, it throws a no such element exception. Yep, so that'll more or less let us know that there's been no element found, nothing found. So, so now we have a way to get everything, get a specific one, delete one. That's it, I believe, for our service. So the next thing we want to know, or the next thing we need to do, is how our users um, are going to be interacting with things. So let's make a to-do controller. Sure. Now this guy, because we're going to be returning back some resources, more or less, or some JSON references and whatnot, we're going to make this. No, I don't know. I guess we don't really need to. We're just going to make it a controller. I like to make it a REST controller. So we're going to make this a REST controller. Look at that. And we are going to make the request mapping. Look at that. Yeah, I'm cool with that. And the other thing I'm going to do here as well is the required args constructor, so that now all I have to do is a private final to do service, and then now I can do. No, why did I hit that? No, thank you. Make safe choices. All right, so now we have our service. So our controller, people come to localhost API v. Why is this? We're just going to make this in. This isn't going to be an API. People are going to come to localhost /todos, and what do we want them to do? We want to be able to return a string, which is going to be a page, like a to-do page, like just a page with stuff in it. So this is going to be a public string get all to-do items. There we go. Kinda, sorta. We're not going to return that. That's not what we want to return. This is going to be our list of whoa. Oh, stop autocorrect. Stop. You're doing it wrong. Cool. Okay, so we're not doing that. We're going to be returning a for this, for all intents and purposes right now, we're just going to return an empty thing because we're going to get into this a little bit later. Um, so what we want to do here is return a page. So the idea here is when somebody comes to the localhost 8080 to slash to-dos, we want to see a web page of a list of all the things that need to be done. And we want an ability to hit a check mark on all of that. And we want a button at the top of the list. We want to say midnight list. And then we want a little button on the top to say um, add task or add item. Or even just make it a big, well, we're going to add a button at the top to add um, to add a task. We're going to then try to present all the things with a check mark on the one side, and if you hover over it, there should be a little option on the right hand side to edit or delete, or maybe just a little pencil to edit, and then once you're in edit mode you can delete it. And so basically we're looking to put up a list of to-do items onto here. So there's a couple of things that we're going to need to do with this, because we're going to need a model. Thank you. This model that we're going to take is going to allow us to if you want to think about it, it allows us to take because we're going to be using an engine, a rendering engine, so that we make the HTML side of this easy to see. We're going to be using Timeleaf for that. Again, it's built in with the Spring framework, and it is amazing. It is this model that we're going to be passing in here is going to say, hey, I want to add a key value pair. The key that we're adding in is basically, if you would like to think of it in Java terms, what is the name of this object that you're passing me? That object can be anything. It can be a list. It can be an object. It can be a string. It can be a number. It can be whatever. It's just a Java object. You can think of it very much like this right here and this right here. So, like, for example, there, exactly. So, I want to actually call this to tasks. I mean, that's ultimately what I want, but you're getting ahead of me there. All right, so this is going to fetch from the data, from the service, which is going to reach to the database and get me a list of all data transfer objects. Or as you can see there, it's going to return a collection of data transfer objects. So now I want to be able to tell my model that I'm going to be passing into my time leaf later that, hey, I have a key value pair here. This is going to be my to-do tasks, and it just so happens to be of type or of an object this, which is a collection up here. So it's literally, for those of you going from very basic Java, the same way that you define something up here, items, collection, is what we do to send it into our time leaf engine later. We're just naming it this so that we can access it by calling it this, much like we access this by calling it this. We're accessing this by calling it this. Hope that makes sense. So now, once we've added something to the model, where does that go? Okay, so we're in this case, we're going to call this, it kind of already did it for me earlier. We're going to call this to-do list. And right now, that's literally just going to return the string to-do list because it doesn't do anything. That means absolutely nothing. That's literally what's going to get put to the page. We don't want that. And I also realize I haven't actually done anything up here. So I'm going to make this a don't get mapping. And it's just going to be straight at the root. So I don't need to provide it anything. It's just going to be to-dos get. Whenever you do that, it's going to call that. Okay. So, it's just going to. So, okay. For those of you who question how microservices work and how like the REST APIs and all that work, um, you can think of having a single monolithic program where everything is in one place and you just simply have to call, I want this object to do this method. When you break the coupling and you decouple things apart and all you have is HTTP calls that make these requests to things, it's sort of the same way. You can think of the request mapping as the import in your Java object. So that way you're looking to say, hey, I'm looking to get this object from this library, except this library is a remote microservice somewhere else. It's not necessarily in this project. So this is how your web browser would say reach out to localhost :8080 / to-dos and then get presented an HTML document or a string in our case. This is the string that they're going to get returned. This naming here does not matter. It's just basically the method name that you're calling essentially, because once you've accessed that library, we'll call it, of localhost 8080 / to-dos, you're now in this class. You're now in here. And based on anything additional after the slash is what you're going to be exposing here publicly, and that's the public method name, so to speak. But you don't access it that way. You access it based on the method types, which is whether it's being made to a get, a put, a post, a delete, or something like that. And so once you, that's kind of a unique way for you to think about it, if you will, with how, if you're trying to think about how decoupled services communicate when you're stuck in the mindset of a monolithic program. I hope that makes sense. If it does, hit that like button and let me know that works for you. So, um, so back into here, the idea again is this is going to return a string. This string just so happens to be here, this piece of text, which means absolutely nothing right now because we need to go into our resources, templates, and we need to make an HTML file. Once we create an HTML file that named that exact string, so to do list, Now it's going to mean something. So if we go back to the controller, did I call that wrong? Oh, there we go. Sorry, I needed to make this a controller, not a REST controller, because we're not returning a resource, we're returning a web page. So now you'll notice that IntelliJ has a little underline beneath the to-do list text. Now what this is going to do, is present the little web page that we got going on here, which is literally just going to say midnight list. And we'll build a little thing for it, you know. Sure. Look at that. And we'll very poorly. Look at that. That looks great. So I'm not promising this is going to look good. I think I should have made this into a LI. Or is it a U? UL? Unordered list? Yeah, there we go. There we go. Sure, we'll make that better later. But for now, so if people come to localhost 8080 this, and they will they'll get our beautiful list of to-do items. Now, again, we'll see. You see how I have this here, and for the sake of this, can you help me make a simple page to explain? See what this does, because I'm just going to save some time, because you really don't want to see me sit here and struggle out and write in some HTML code. Oh, you made that. You're making a fool of me. Okay, cool. Love you and hate you, AI. All right, so because we call this to-do tasks, and you'll see that it kind of goes highlighted green now, so I can control click, and it will take me over to here. So this will render a list of items, because it's going to, and this is the beautiful thing about Time Leaf, and why I say Time Leaf make things really easy for Java developers. So if you're very used to Java and not HTML, and you're not used to writing that, Time Leaf has their own little magic that goes on here, okay? So I'm actually going to, there is a way that I can put up here a div. So I want to show you this first. Oh, yeah, let's do this as a div. Okay, so we're going to say div. Ah, there it is. Okay, it loves me. It knows, it knows. And now down here. No, come on now. Do it again for me. Do it again for me. Do it again for me. Oh, okay, cool. So we're going to say down here div. Um, it's not the one that I was going to use. So I'm going to fix this up because it kind of, sort of, almost worked. Worked enough to give me a base here. So just let me slip things around. So there. Okay. So midnight list. And we'll stick a coffee. Why can I not spell coffee? And we'll stick a coffee cup in there because we all like coffee. So we're going to come up here and say, I'm just going to copy this because, like, what the hell? So if we're going to say hashtag lists, or list, I believe it is. Yeah. There we go. Mm, mm, mm. Dollar, 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 dollar. There we go. I had to think about that for a second, guys. Sorry with that. I'm having a real rough time with this live stream today. So, the beautiful thing about time leaf, and I'm actually going to copy this, do this. Okay. So, for those of you who are familiar with Java and not HTML, but you want to get into backend and you're curious about going into the front end, Timeleaf makes Java fun again. Front end fun. Okay, so what this here little piece of magic is saying is that if else for each of these inside of this, do this. You got me? Okay, so we tell Timeleaf that if, and then we have to slap a $sign and curly braces around our expression. We say we're looking to go diving into the lists module of of Timeleaf. And we're looking to use some methods that come with the list module, such as is empty. So we can check this, and we want to make sure that it's not empty. Because if it is in fact empty, so if it is empty, we have nothing to display. There's no tasks to do. Good. Otherwise, down here, unless it's empty, so again, we're doing the exact same check to see if it's empty, but this time it's unless. So unless it's empty, or sorry, actually, we're going to do this way. We're going to do another if, but instead, we're going to do size is greater than 0. Just to show you another way, how you can do another check here. So again, we're diving into the lists module of time leaf, and we want to know the size of the array list that we're passing in, or of the collection that we're passing in. So now, and we want to confirm that that size is in fact greater than 1, so that we actually have some stuff to do. Now we're going to say, okay, create us a list, and in our case, we now want to go over and do something with this list. So here we say for each, and this is exactly the same as if you were to um, come into here and do this, like to do something. Okay. So this here is this here. We're using a for each loop from time leaf. And for each variable, in our case, task, so for each var or item from this list, so from this list, we then want to add some stuff on onto the display. So in our case right now, there is nothing to display, but that's what it should look like. So the next thing that we need to do here, well, technically I can run this right now and we can take a look and see what that looks like. So like, let's go ahead and run this. And got, and now if we pop open our browser and go to localhost colon 8080 slash to-dos, is that what I called that? Yeah, to-dos. There we go. See? Cool. So now we have a list of to-dos up on the list here, but we have technically nothing to display. So we've got nothing to do. Cool. So what we need to do next is put something into the to-do list. So I want to now be able to I guess the next thing that we'll do tomorrow, because this is starting to uh, stretch off. What we're going to do tomorrow um, is we're going to make a way that we can just create a to-do. We'll make sure to keep it basic. We're just going to pass a string in and uh, and uh, and create create an item, and then we'll find it. Then we will show how to sorry about that. So we will tomorrow morning. Yeah, tomorrow morning. I will make sure to hit the go live button when I actually go live. And we will we'll go into how we can add an item to our to-do list. I mean, however, technically, if we have it up and going still, We got it up and going, do we not still? To-dos. Yeah, we still have it going. Okay, cool. So if I go to local localhost colon 8080 slash h2 dash console, and I do not have it turned. All right. What did I forget there? Not found. Hmm. Okay, so I wanted to look into that too. So I was just going to see if I could pop into the database and create one, but I mean, just for the sake of getting something up on the screen. Is this because the file was never created or what? Okay. Hmm. Cool. Do that for the moment. So this lets me pop into here so that I could see this and this and this. Except there is no. Okay, let me just want to quickly throw in some dummy data here. So let me pop into here. Let me DLL, generate me a DLL. La, 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 la. H2. Yeah, cool. Yeah. Uh, sure, we'll add that. And why are you not letting me? Sure. Oh, no, not that. Mm. Cool. Did that work? No. Oh, I can't access that while I got the program going, though, right? Can't I? No, 'cause it's a file. Sorry about this, guys. Tried to be quick. Um, attach to a data source. There we go. Run this, do that. Table, boom, to-do items, there we go. I want to add a new one, generated ID. We're gonna say 1. Description. Drink coffee. Completed. False. Created. Perfect. Completed. Null. Last modified. Perfect. Alright. Submit that. Done. Pop back into our browser. Out of here. And if we reload this, nothing's gonna work. So let me get out of here. Let me turn this back on. All right. I refresh this. You can see that we now have our drink coffee rendered on the screen. And no, you can't because you're looking at me. So if I was to pop this away, I worked a little bit of magic here. You probably just saw me talk to myself and I didn't even realize I was doing it. But I wired myself into the database here, and I popped into um, that is super bright. Why was I not smart? Dark mode browser. All right. So now, as you can see, if we go here, we get the midnight list, and drink coffee is our rendered um, item on our list. Now, for those of you that were wondering how I quickly did that, I just connected myself to the database through some magic tools with I generated the DLL first. Sorry, from the from here I just simply generated a DLL, which made me the SQL file, and I then connected it to the database from here by clicking on this little magic database button, just to be quick and fast to show you this. And then I was able to come in here and punch in some dummy data, update the database record, and show you that drink coffee. And just to show you how easy that was, come into here, generated value, we're going to say subscribe. If I can type, we're going to say that this one here should be true, created, done, done, done. Punch that to the database. Something's conflicting. Database already in use. Oh yes, okay, so if I stop this first, punch this, save it. This is only because we're using a memory database, not a persisted thing like a Postgres. So if I hit the run button again, back to our browser, reload the page, boom, new task done. So that being said, I am now going to be wrapping this up. If you've liked it, if you've enjoyed it, hit that subscribe button yourself, get that task done. Also, hit that like button, get that next task done. All right, and tomorrow we will cover how we can put a button on the screen so that we can add a new task right from the browser, and we will then see how we can change that little fake tick into an actual button that we can click, and how easy that can be as well. So if you've enjoyed this, make sure to make sure you're subscribed with that notification bell on to get notified when I go live tomorrow. And I'll make sure to hit that go live button this time. So, as always, keep your curiosity open, your skills sharp, and like me, keep that coffee cup full. I clearly need a lot more today. I'll catch you in the next one, guys.